The hearing room was already tense before Representative Jasmine Crockett even walked in. Reporters filled every seat in the back rows, their cameras aimed forward like rifles locked on their targets. Staffers hurried about with binders and water bottles. The air buzzed with whispers and the nervous shuffle of papers. Bill Barr, former Attorney General, sat stiffly at the witness table, his jaw clenched as though he were preparing for a boxing match rather than a congressional hearing. He adjusted his glasses and leaned toward the microphone, clearly ready to assert control from the very beginning. Jasmine Crockett entered, her bright blazer commanding attention. She carried her notes neatly stacked under her arm, but anyone who knew her style understood, she didn't need notes to make her point. She was quick-witted, sharp, and unafraid of confrontation. The chairman gavelled the hearing into order. The committee will come to order. We are here to discuss. But the chairman's words were barely out when Barr leaned forward, cutting across the introduction. Let's be clear, I don't intend to sit here and be attacked. The interruption drew murmurs from the audience. Jasmine lifted her chin but said nothing yet. She simply locked her eyes on Barr, waiting. It was a silence that dared him to keep going. Ms. Crockett, the chairman finally said, you have the floor. Jasmine adjusted her microphone, leaned in slightly, and spoke with calm precision. Mr. Barr, let's start simple. Do you believe that no one is above the law? Barr smirked. I'm not going to indulge a law school lecture. Interruption number 1. Crockett didn't flinch. She waited. Yes or no? Barr cleared his throat. That's an oversimplification. You can't just. Interruption number 2. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, but Crockett sat back, unbothered. Let me try again, she said, her voice steady. Do you, as a lawyer, agree that every citizen, no matter how powerful, is accountable to the law? Barr opened his mouth. Well, in principle. Interruption number 3. Her pen tapped once on the desk. She didn't even blink. You've had a long career, Crockett continued. You've defended presidents, you've testified in front of Congress before. Yet, somehow, you always manage to dance around the simplest questions. Barr frowned. That's not true. Interruption number 4. Now even members on Barr's side of the aisle glanced at him nervously. His constant cutting in was beginning to look less like strength and more like desperation. Crockett leaned forward. The American people are watching this, Mr. Barr. Do you understand that? Barr jabbed a finger toward her. I understand that you're grandstanding, and I won't sit here and be. Interruption number 5. The chairman banged his gavel once. Mr. Barr, allow the representative to finish her question. Barr forced a thin smile. Fine, but she should know I won't let her distort the record. Crockett didn't look away. I don't need to distort anything. The record speaks for itself. Barr shifted in his chair, then muttered, not the way you twist it. Interruption number 6. The room tightened like a drum. Cameras clicked. Everyone could feel that something was building. Jasmine Crockett inhaled slowly and let the silence stretch before she spoke again. I'll ask you directly, did you ever advise the former president to take actions you knew were unlawful? Barr's eyebrows shot up. That's absurd. Interruption number 7. Did you? She pressed. I'm not going to dignify. Interruption number 8. Even the chairman was frowning now. Crockett leaned in so close to the mic her words carried like thunder. The question is not absurd, Mr. Barr. It's necessary. Because the public deserves to know whether their former attorney general enabled lawbreaking at the highest levels of government. Barr snapped, that's a lie. Interruption number 9. The room erupted in gasps. Barr's face flushed red. His interruptions had gone from dismissive to outright hostile. Crockett, however, had not lost her cool for even a second. She flipped through her papers, then set them down. She no longer needed them. Her eyes locked on Barr's, and her tone shifted, calm, icy, unstoppable. Mr. Barr, she said, you've interrupted me 9 times now. That's 9 attempts to dodge the truth. The crowd hushed instantly. Every camera zoomed in. She leaned forward, delivering the line that would replay on every news network within the hour. Here's number 10. The more you interrupt me, the more the American people see exactly what you're trying to hide. Barr's mouth opened, but no words came. For the first time that day, he was silent. The hearing room erupted with murmurs and scattered applause. The chairman's gavel struck repeatedly, but it was too late. Crockett's 10th line had landed like a knockout punch. And Barr knew it. The silence after Crockett's 10th line was thick, almost electric. Bill Barr adjusted his glasses, his lips tightening, but he didn't interrupt this time. The audience could see it, he had been cornered. Crockett sat back in her chair, crossing her arms lightly, her expression calm yet cutting. She had drawn blood without raising her voice. The chairman tapped his gavel again. Order. Let's proceed. But the room was not the same. The power dynamic had shifted. Barr, who had stormed into the chamber prepared to dominate, now looked defensive, his notes untouched, his hand trembling slightly as he reached for his water. Mr. Barr, Crockett resumed, her tone now cool and methodical, you claim you didn't enable unlawful behavior. Yet when pressed for specifics, you've interrupted me 9 times, avoided direct answers, and shouted down legitimate questions. Barr cleared his throat. I object to the characterization. I simply refused to accept a false premise. No, Crockett cut in, finally reclaiming the interruptions he had weaponized earlier. You refused accountability. Gasps rippled through the chamber. She held up a document. Here is a memo from your office, dated June 2020. In it, you argued that executive privilege extended far beyond established precedent. Legal scholars, conservatives included, called your reasoning unprecedented, even dangerous. Care to explain why? Barr leaned back, scowling. I stand by the memo. The president must have the ability to govern effectively. Crockett raised a hand, slicing through his words. Govern effectively, or operate without consequence. Reporters scribbled furiously. The chairman shifted in his seat, clearly aware that this exchange was already making headlines. Barr's voice grew louder. You're twisting it again. This is nothing but a political hit job. Crockett smiled faintly. Funny. Every time facts are inconvenient, suddenly it's political. Convenient shield, isn't it? Laughter broke out from the audience. Even a few committee members couldn't suppress their grins. Barr glared. This isn't a courtroom, Representative. No, Crockett replied smoothly, but it is the people's house. And you are still accountable here. That line landed hard. The audience clapped despite the chairman's calls for order. Crockett then shifted gears. Let's talk about the events of January 6th. Did you or did you not have advance knowledge of discussions about overturning the results of the 2020 election? Barr stiffened. Absolutely not. Did you warn the president against pushing false claims of voter fraud? I expressed my concerns. Concerns, or legal objections? She pressed. Barr's jaw clenched. That's confidential advice. Confidential, Crockett repeated, her voice rising slightly. Mr. Barr, you're no longer Attorney General. You don't get to hide behind the shield of your former title when democracy itself was at stake. Another ripple of applause broke out. The cameras zoomed in on Barr's reddening face. He snapped, you're making this a spectacle. Crockett shot back instantly. No, Mr. Barr, you did that when you tried to silence me 9 times in a row. The audience erupted. Even members of the press, who usually held themselves back, couldn't suppress their murmurs of approval. Barr looked down, fumbling with his notes, clearly rattled. His interruptions had been his weapon, but Crockett had turned them into evidence of his evasiveness. The chairman leaned forward. Mr. Barr, please answer the question directly. But Barr didn't. He sat frozen, eyes fixed on his papers, as if hoping they might provide him an escape. Crockett let the silence linger, then delivered the final blow. History will remember this moment. You tried to talk over me, but today, you talked yourself into a corner. And the people can see the difference between power and accountability. The chamber broke into thunderous applause, cameras flashing non-stop. The chairman's gavel was almost drowned out by the noise. Barr didn't interrupt again. He barely spoke at all for the remainder of the hearing. Outside the chamber, the story spread like wildfire. Within hours, clips of Crockett's 10th line, the more you interrupt me, the more the American people see exactly what you're trying to hide, flooded social media. Commentators called it a masterclass in composure. Editorials praised her patience, her precision, and her refusal to let intimidation win. And Barr. He trended too, but not the way he wanted. Headlines branded him, flustered, cornered, and exposed. By the end of the day, one truth was undeniable. In just a few minutes of sharp questioning, Jasmine Crockett had ended the interruptions of a man who had once considered himself untouchable. And the American people had witnessed every second.